welcome back to Boots and Betty Homestead. We're back in Casey's kitchen today, and we are going to be making from scratch homemade pasta. And I'm also going to have an additional recipe coming up where I'm going to use this pasta, so stick around for that. So to make homemade pasta, the only two ingredients you need is all-purpose flour, and it's best to use the unbleached, unenriched flour. Around here we buy the King Arthur brand of all-purpose flour. And then you will need 3 eggs. So you need 2 cups of flour and 3 eggs. And about a cup of water to have on hand just in case you need a little extra water. But I'll get to that in just a second. So in my bowl here, I've already gotten 2 cups of all-purpose flour measured out. And I'm going to take a fork and fluff the flour just a little bit so that way the eggs can mix into the flour a little bit easier, and that way it doesn't clump up as well. So come on down here and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is just fluff our flour a little bit, and this kind of mixes it up, gets all the clumps out, and you can also run this through a sifter if you would rather do that. Okay, and now we're going to take 3 farm fresh eggs, poopy included, and go ahead and break them in. Now if you would rather, you can always break the farm fresh eggs into a bowl or container first to make sure you don't get any bad eggs. Alright, there's our 3 eggs. So now we have to whip them up. And then we'll just slowly incorporate them into the flour. And before it gets too thick and you can't stir it, let's go ahead and add some salt. So to this, I'm going to add a good generous teaspoon of salt. And that may seem like a lot, but I made it with about a half a teaspoon last week, and it did need more. So go ahead and put a teaspoon of salt in here. Now I use pink Himalayan salt. You can use sea salt or whatever salt you have. And then we are just going to slowly incorporate all of this together. And this is going to take some time and muscle. If you have a food processor, you can put it through the food processor as well. I don't have one, so it's going to be Casey's muscles. And we're going to mix this up very well, making sure that we get all the flour wet because we don't want to add any water until we see how well we've got this incorporated. Now each egg is a different size, so it's going to give you different moisture levels every time you make it. Alright, I think I've just about got everything incorporated. I'm going to add just a little bit of water. And I'm fixing to have to change over to my hands. I think I will go ahead and do that. And you don't want this to be too sticky because it is going to have to go through your pasta roller, or you can do it on a mat with a pizza cutter, however you need to do it. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more water because I can still see the flour on the outside, and you want it to start becoming like a creamy color. And I've got a lot of flour left over, so it just takes some time getting it all mixed in. One of these days I'll get me a food processor and I won't have to do this. And if it's easier, you can do it on the counter at this point. Do just a little bit more water. And it may have to do with the atmosphere as well. The house air can be a little bit drier than, you know, if you were to say have your windows open, and it'd be a little humid. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, since I've got all the flour mixed in, you can see that there, got all the flour mixed in, I'm going to go ahead and flour my surface here on the stove, and we need to knead this for a couple of minutes. We're going to knead this until it gets fairly smooth, and then we're going to let it rest. You'll be able to feel, because when you first start doing it, it'll be kind of like grainy feeling. Not really like little knots, but like little pea pebbles in there. You can feel them. And then as you knead it and push, you'll feel the motion starting to get smooth. And it's just going to take some practice. Just like kind of like making bread, it's just going to take some practice. Alright, so sorry about the shadows. So we've got the pasta made to where it's not sticky. And mine doesn't get very smooth. And I think it's because I don't use a food processor. But I'm tired, okay? But we've got it all done together. You can hear it's tacky. It's not sticky, okay? So we're going to let this rest and let it rest for 5 minutes, and that's going to allow the gluten to set up. And then once the 5 minutes is done, then we can come back and knead it just a little bit, and then we can get to rolling it out. Okay, so let it rest. Alright, so it's been a little more than 5 minutes. I had a visitor stop by, but we're going to go ahead and knead this for a couple more minutes. So go ahead and sprinkle some flour down, just a little bit, not too much. And you'll be able to tell that it'll be a lot smoother this time because that gluten has set up. Alright, we're just going to knead it just a few minutes. You'll feel it being real smooth. Real smooth. Alright. So now the next thing we're going to do, roll it just a little bit to kind of make it even. See, like make a little loaf like that. And then we're going to cut it into thirds just to make it a little bit easier to work with. Next step to do is we've got to get this rolled out. So I've got my pasta roller set up in the dining room. We're going to go in there and get this rolled out real quick. Alright, so as you guys see, I have my pasta roller set up here, and I've got it clamped to the table, so that way my pasta is going to come out this way. Now to make cleanup a little bit easier, I'm going to lay down some wax paper, and you kind of want it long because your pasta rolls are going to be pretty long. And I'm going to use what I got around here to help hold it down. So tomatoes it is. Tomatoes and peppers. Alright, so our pasta is going to go in here, and then it's going to come out, and we need to get some extra flour to sit right here, and that way we can kind of dust our pasta as it comes out so it doesn't stick together. And I'm also going to get a little help to do this, because with this one you almost need two people, one to crank and then one to catch it and pull it out. You can do this by hand if you want to roll it out. You just roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch thickness, or 1/8 of an inch, whatever your preference is as to whatever noodles you're making, and a pizza cutter or a knife or something like that. So I'm gonna go in and get the flour and then bring our pasta in here, and we are gonna get started on getting these rolled out. And it is normal, I'm cutting Steven's head off. He's just too tall.
You just moved it.
He's too tall. Alright, so we're gonna take the first of one of the three of the pastas. He's gonna crank it and I'm gonna pull it out. Now, there's a dial on the end of this. If you have, just a regular, if this is called a Gourmex pasta roller, and if you have one of these models, it doesn't matter what the name of it is, but the table pasta roller, the hand crank, will have numbers on one of the ends, and you'll have to pull that dial out and move it to the number that you want it to. We're going to start with the biggest number and work our way down. So we're going to start on number 7. Most of them start with 7 for whatever reason, and go down to either 1 or 0. And what we're going to do is we are going to run the pasta through each number twice. So we're going to run it through number 7 once, and then we're going to fold it over and run it through number 7 again. And this is going to kind of help work that gluten as well, kind of like kneading. And then on this one I have found with this recipe, I only like to go to about 3. I don't like to go any skinnier than that, because then it starts to rip, and I don't really know why. But we like it at 3, and that's where we're going to do it. So we're going to start at 7, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of flattening it out just a little bit, so that way it can get started, and you want to keep it as uniform as possible, because it'll start getting distorted all kinds of ways. So flatten one end just a little bit, and then we're going to put it up here, and then he's going to start to roll it, and then it's going to come out underneath. Alright, that's our first one. So, fold it over, and then where the two ends come together, that's where it's going to go in again. Alright, at this point, we're going to put just a little bit of flour on the outside of each side, and that's why you wanted this wax paper down, so it doesn't get everywhere. Alright, now, pull your little knob out and go down to 6. Do it again. Okay. And then fold it over. And if you want to, you can do it to the side. If you see that, one side's getting bigger than the other or something while it's still on 5, 6, or 7, if you fold it in half and it's still, if it fits sideways, you can do it sideways too. It doesn't matter at this point. You're just flattening it out. Other way. Okay, and that's our second one. Alright, you got it down to 5. Let's do it again. And then lay it over, and then put it back in. Now if you're doing this by hand by yourself, you can drop it and just make sure that you keep it pulled out underneath as you're turning. Alright, we're going to flour it just a little bit. He changed it down to 4 for me. Here we go again. Why you want to go the wrong way?
The right way. For the other way.
You want to bag it up. Alright, flip it over. Now if it starts getting too wide, you can pull it just a little bit and kind of suck it in the middle. Or if you need to, whenever you get the longer big pieces, if it gets too wide to where the edges are starting to look pretty rough, you can fold it in half long ways and put it in that way. And that may be what I do next. Alright. Okay, I'm going to show you that now. My edges are getting kind of crinkly. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half long ways. So it looks like this now. And I'm going to put it through there once like this. Just to kind of help bring it back down in the middle. Wow, you put it on 2. It got skinny.
It was only that easy. I'd jump in there myself.
Alright, so with this one, then we're going to fold it over. And you'll see how much skinnier it made it. So it's a little more manageable. Okay. This is why I don't go any smaller than 3. See that hole? So with this one, I'm going to go ahead and try to run it through again. See if it'll fit this way. You kind of have to play with it and see what works. But you'll learn. See, we're going to go back up. Yeah, stop. Back up. Back up.
I'm going back up.
Okay. That didn't work. This dough does not like 3 today. So we're going to have to stop it on 4. If anybody's made dough and know why it does that, please let me know. Because mine never likes to get lower than 3. And it didn't even like it on 3 tonight.
Well, we got to 3.
We got to 3 and then it made a mess. Okay. So we're going to go back up to 4. You're on 5. We're going to go back to 4 and then run this through twice. Okay, see, I like 4 better.
Me too, so it's there.
4 does good. Okay. And one more. Alright, so what we're going to do is cover these with flour, and this just keeps them from sticking together.
What's the other one? What's the other one?
The other one what?
Piece of dough?
Yeah, I got them in there. Alright, we're going to let those rest. We've got 2 more to go. So we'll play it in fast motion if you want to watch, and if not, you can just skip ahead.
Let's turn it back up.
So now that we've got that pasta done, on these machines or these devices, there is an attachment that comes with them where you can make fettuccine or spaghetti noodles. And which one you want to make tonight? Fettuccine?
Fettuccine.
Fettuccine. We'll do fettuccine.
We did spaghetti the other night, so that'd be a nice trial to have done both.
And we'll do the fettuccine tonight. So, with this one, I've got it to where it hangs off of the table. So what I did the other day is I put a cookie sheet on the floor, and then as it went through there, I would just grab them all and then just lay it in that tray. So that way it catches anything that falls, and then I can just lay them in that tray. Okay, so we've got Emma going to assist us. Alright, she's going to hold the pan, and then I'm going to feed it through. Steven's going to crank it. I don't know which way is which.
I didn't yet.
You're going to have to grab them and then kind of pull them out. Emma's done this in 4-H before.
What?
Yep. So there's our first batch of noodles.
That's cool.
Alright, now you can cut these to the length that you want them before you put them in here, which would be better off whenever you go to get the noodles out to cook them. They'll already be pre-length that you need them. Alright, so I'm going to cut these next two that we did in half. And that'll be our noodle length. And if you need to pull it back just a little bit to get it to kind of shrink in the middle, to get it to go through there, you can do that as well. And as you lay them on the tray, you can lay each little batch in like a little bird's nest kind of thing. Because you can either let them dry or you can go ahead and use them fresh. Oh, there you go. Lost a few. It's okay. All right. Yep, little dirt never hurt. God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. Alright, here's our noodles. Now you can take these and lay them out to dry on a pasta rack, or you can take them like as they come through and you lay them in the bird's nest. You can let them dry like that if you want, but we're going to go ahead and use these fresh. So let's head into the kitchen and go see what we need to do with these. So to cook these noodles, I've got a pot of water back here, and this say probably 4 quarts of water is in this pot. And so we are going to bring this up to boil, and then we are going to put our noodles in there. In the meantime, our noodles will have a little bit of time to dry out, just a little bit, and y'all can keep kind of fluffing them up so they can dry just a little bit, because they'll hold up better whenever they get wet, and you won't just have flour going everywhere. If you have a fan like I do, I forgot to cut it off before I cut the camera on. If you have a fan like I do, you can set it in front of the fan and it will help kind of dry them off as well. So I'll bring you back in just a minute whenever the water gets good and boiling, and then we will be able to put our noodles in. And they only take about 3 to 4 minutes to cook because they are fresh. And you'll just have to kind of get one out and try it and see what it tastes like to know when they are done. And I would advise using salt to go ahead and season them as they are cooking. So we'll be back in just a minute when the water's boiling. Alright you guys, we got our water boiling, and I went ahead and put in a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. So now what we're going to do, you need a spaghetti spoon, which is, this is my wooden spaghetti spoon. Some of you had questions on what it was in another video. So, we're going to take our noodles and just kind of pull it apart as much as we can. They're going to go straight in. So you kind of want to separate them a little bit. And you can pull them. That's fine. Because you don't want, you don't want big clumps of noodles. They will eventually come apart, I guess. Alright. And then, just kind of put a few in there and then just stir them around to make sure that they stay loose. We'll just keep on going. Keep on keeping on. This is why you want to put the flour on them. Obviously, I had a batch that didn't have enough flour on them. Because they want to stick together. And keep them fluffed as they dry. Because as they dry, then they won't want to stick together either. Alright, stir it just a little bit. And you can already tell by stirring them that the texture has changed. They've gotten a little stiffer in the water. And we're not going to eat all these noodles tonight. This is going to make quite a bit of noodles. So that's our whole pan. And you can make these ahead for, like, you know, something tonight and something tomorrow night, if you would like. Or you can just make a big batch and have leftovers tomorrow. That may be what I'm going to do. Okay? So now, these have to cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. We'll try them in just a little bit. Alright. They look really good and hearty and hefty. So let's take one out. I'm just going to put it on the stove here. I did have to turn these down because they were about to boil over. Let me get a fork. Alright, let's try them real quick. We're just checking for doneness. Yeah. They're good. Let's go ahead and turn it off. These are so much better since I added that salt earlier. I added more salt to the mixture, and then I also added the salt to the water as I was cooking them. It's so good. I always like to run cold water behind my hot water stuff. And you can cool these down just a little bit too if you'd like. Just to kind of keep them to, this helps them to stop cooking as well as to keep them from sticking together. Because if they are still hot and stuck together, they will continue to cook and they can actually fuse together, making your noodles get all stuck. Alright, there we go, homemade noodles. Ta-da! Alright guys, there you have it. That is how you make your own homemade pasta, and you can do multiple batches. I wouldn't necessarily double the recipe because then you get into all kinds of troubleshooting with it being too dry or too wet. Keep it in small batches, that way you can handle it better. But you can make as many batches as you would like to at one time since you're already dirtying up the kitchen anyways. So, go make your own homemade pasta. You will thank me later. Bye guys.